But champ, let's move on to that pigskin. Sooner or later, man, couple of months, football is coming soon. The Baltimore Ravens, they landed Jair Alexander. Now, remember, he was the Packers. Correct me if I'm wrong, champ. They released him, and the Baltimore Ravens they acquired him to a 1-year deal. He gets reunited with his former Louisville teammate Lamar Jackson. You pair him up with Marlon Humphrey, champ. I think this is something that the Baltimore Ravens needed for Jair Alexander to be in a new team, reunited with your old college teammate. Baltimore still in the conversation for the Super Bowl. Of course, they're coming off that devastating divisional round playoff loss to the Buffalo Bills. Lamar's still at the prime of his career. He's only 28. Matter of fact, even though I had Josh Allen winning the MVP, I'm still kind of shocked Lamar didn't win it. Matter of fact, you and BRF made the case MV3 for Lamar because the year that he was putting up those numbers, 40 something touchdowns, only 4 interceptions, first time over 4,000 yards, Aaron Rodgers-esque numbers. Todd Monken, your former Georgia Bulldog offensive coordinator, has done a magnificent job with Lamar. Derrick Henry, just a beast. And to pair Jair Alexander with Humphrey, with Kyle Hamilton, one of the best safeties we have in the NFL. And then, of course, you talked about it, champ, Roquan Smith, in which the Chicago Bears. I don't know how they gave up that trade, but hey.
Look, I'm still to this day, I try to look back and see what did he do. Because for you to trade your star linebacker for less than a first round pick, I'm still trying to figure out what was the problem there, because that was crazy. Because him and Khalil Mack, when they was there, they made a hell of a combination. They even got some playoffs his first year.
Yes. But I think for the Ravens, this is a really good look to get Jair Alexander. I think that the Ravens, they got to get at least to the conference championship game, man, because with Kansas City, I still have Kansas City. They're still going to be a playoff caliber team, but have they made any moves in the offseason that really stood out? No, they gave up Joe Thuney to the Chicago Bears, and we expect Chicago to have a big time season. Travis Kelce is still going to be there. Patrick Mahomes, I still believe in Patrick Mahomes, but the offensive line, there's still questions about that. And then when you look at the AFC West, as you mentioned, it's not going to be easy because Denver, that team, Bo Nix coming off the year that he had. And then with the Chargers, although Justin Herbert has a lot to prove, because we can't ignore that awful playoff performance he had against the Houston Texans, champ. He was horrible. He was horrible as you was the other day with your diet, but that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
But he was just awful. But you said let's give him some grace because first year with Jim Harbaugh. So we gotta wait and see. And with the Raiders, we still gotta wait and see with the Raiders. But I like it for the Baltimore Ravens because it still keeps their playoff hopes alive, especially the AFC. I would love to see Baltimore, Buffalo again in the playoffs, only this time in the AFC Championship game. And I think for Lamar, and he knows that it's time. He was so furious after that playoff loss to the Buffalo Bills. You talked about it. You touched on it on the Hard Knocks episode, I think that was on. And Mark Andrews. I love me some Mark Andrews because obviously comes from one of my schools, OU. Had a disappointing game. And just like Lamar Jackson didn't show up, neither did Mark Andrews, particularly the 2-point conversion in which he dropped a crucial pass. I think for Baltimore, they gotta do it now. They gotta do it now. And Pitch Grid Pod, he says, I know it's slightly off topic, but is Lamar Vic 2.0 Yes, but a better passer early
Way
on. Way better passer. But let's not discount Michael Vick as a passer in Philadelphia, especially his first year. Especially the Monday Night Football game against my Commanders, in which he torched them that night. I'm still traumatized to this day. Pitch grade pod. They upgraded the O-line with Moore and Simmons. They got Fulton for a corner. And yes, the defense big time in the draft. And you talked about how the Ravens did an excellent job in the draft, champ. And BRF mentioned who is the X factor for the Ravens on defense this season.
Malachi Starks.
Malachi Starks, yeah, from your Georgia Bulldogs.
Malachi Starks. And look out for Mike White as well. They drafted him. He has some character issues, but, you know, there was some things out there about him prior to the draft. But they had, I think there's no other team under the gun right now more than the Baltimore Ravens. They had one hell of a draft. They did not lose a lot of players in free agency. They had a hell of a draft. They, in fact, next to the Cowboys, they won the NFL draft. Then and that's a big if, because Zaire, he's not washed. He's just been hurt. If he is 90% of what 80% of what he was in Green Bay, that secondary is going to be locked down. Not going to be able to pass. You have Justin Metabupe coming back. You have Raekwon Smith coming back. Kyle Hamilton, one of the best safeties in the league. So that secondary is going to be locked down. And this is Lamar another year with Todd Monken. How long is Todd Monken going to be there? You got to ask yourself that. So there's a lot of factors playing in favor for Baltimore at this point. There's a lot of factors playing because, number one, you drafted well. Your entire team is coming back. Your coaches are coming back. Your defense made strides at the end. Not only that, you have to look at your division at this point. The Steelers, do you really trust them with Aaron Rodgers? No, indeed not.
We already know about Cleveland.
Cleveland, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Shedeur Sanders if he can stop playing bumper cars. If he can stop playing bumper cars and slow that car down, it's going to be interesting to see what he can do. Everybody has had a ticket. I had plenty of them. I'm just going to be real. It's just a speed ticket, no big deal, but still slow down. You don't want to get off to a bad start. Then Cincinnati, who, if they don't know how to do anything else, they know how to mess up a cup of coffee. They haven't signed Trey Hendrickson. They haven't signed their first-round draft pick, Stewart. And so the defense that they had that was last in the league is going to be even worse than it was. So in order for them to even survive a game, they're going to have Joe Burrow and that offense put up at least 100 points a game, which everybody knows in this league, your offense is not necessarily going to be on. They're going to have to be Air Coryell 2.0 in order to win games. So you have your draft, your players returning, and that division that's in flux at this point. That's everything that you need. And in the great words of Dave Wanstead, who was a hell of a defensive coordinator and a good coach for the Miami Dolphins, the first step to winning the Super Bowl is winning your division, trying to clinch that first round by getting a home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So if you can do that, everything is in their favor. Everything is in their favor in order to get to a Super Bowl. It's just a matter of you getting there. Not to mention, you got to think about James Cook. He may not be with the Buffalo Bills this year because he's in a contract dispute with them. So the person who was their touchdown leader last year may not be with the Buffalo Bills. So there's a lot of things going in your favor to get you to the Super Bowl. You just have to come out there and execute. But you have to execute. There ain't no, in the great words of Major Payne, they're not just going to go out there and hand it to you. They ain't finna hand it to you. you're going to have to go out there and earn it. And you may have to end up going on the road in order to face Kansas City.
Or Buffalo.
So everything is going in your favor as far as Lamar Jackson, as far as the coaching and everything. But I do believe that window is closing fast because guess what? After this year, you don't know what Derrick Henry's going to be. I think Derrick Henry has one more great year in it. Great. I'm talking about I think he's going to be magnificent again this year. But at the same time, how long are you going to have him at that premium that you had him at last year? Remember
which is why Baltimore, they're going to get a running back.
Yeah. Remember, there were some questions about him coming in this year of did the Tennessee Titans run him into the ground? So the window is closing. But today, the window is closing. But today, as far as Baltimore Ravens is concerned, it's wide open. You can drive a pickup truck through that window. It's wide open. Your division is not that good. Your draft was great. Everything is going in your favor. All your coaches came back. You have not lost any key pieces. In fact, you gained a lot. But you got to execute this year. If they do not win it this year, I don't think they're ever going to. And that is the hottest take I'm probably ever going to have. If Baltimore does not win it this year with a very, very weak division, with all of these great players they have on their team coming back, with the great draft that they had, the pass rushers, the offense, if they do not do this year, I don't think they're ever going to.
And then you also got to ask yourself this question, because we talked about with Mike Tomlin. At some point in time, do you move on from John Harbaugh? If you're Baltimore.
No. He's went to NFC championship games. Well, AFC championship games. He's went to playoff games. He's won playoff games. It's not with John Harbaugh, it's not this cycle of mediocrity.
No, champ. I'm not saying that he's mediocre like Tomlin, but you have a window. For now, it looks great, but you don't know how long it's going to be there. If Baltimore, do you have to start fresh?
No. I think that you stick with the same team, but the thing is, unlike Mike Tomlin, when it was time to get rid of the offensive coordinator because he wasn't necessarily a good fit for Lamar Jackson, he got rid of him and got Todd Monken.
Right.
He went and got players to complement Lamar Jackson, them in the front office. They didn't just wait around and just let things fall in their lap like the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing at this point. And like I said, they was not in this stuck in place mentality that the Pittsburgh Steelers are in. Like I said, they went to an NFC championship just the year before last. They've been in the playoffs. They've won playoff games. They haven't necessarily been to a Super Bowl as of yet with Lamar Jackson. But Harbaugh, he's been to a few AFC championships with Flacco. Matter of fact, I think he went to like 2-3 in a row with Flacco.
He went to one in 2008 in Flacco's rookie year. 2011, they lost to New England. The Lee Evans drop pass and the missed field goal. Yeah. The following year, they went back to the AFC Championship game where they beat down the Patriots, went to the Super Bowl, and beat the San Francisco 49ers. And they went to the playoffs in 2014. They lost to the Patriots in the divisional round. And then they went to the playoffs in 2018, lost to the Chargers. 2019, they lost to the Tennessee Titans in the divisional round. That was when Lamar won the MVP unanimously, and they had the number 1 seed. They beat Tennessee the following year in 2020, but then they lost to Buffalo in the divisional round. They missed the playoffs in 2021. They lost to Cincinnati in the wild card. Remember, Lamar Jackson did not play in that game. That was Tyler Humphrey.
Yeah. They was in the contract dispute.
Yep. 2023, they lost an AFC Championship game to Kansas City. and then last year they lost to Buffalo.
Yeah,
But it's
after
time.
beating the Steelers. So they've won some playoff games there. They're not just stuck in this patchwork. I'm gonna patch it up for the year, and then we're gonna go to the playoffs, and we're gonna just
No. It's not like that, champ. But at the same time, it's time. You made all these moves in the offseason with the draft. You got yourself another cornerback, and you've done a really good job with the offseason. And plus, as we mentioned, the AFC North. We talked about it with Aaron Rodgers. I'll say it again. I'm trying to go for Lotto. I'm trying to go for Jennifer Lopez. I'm trying to go for Salma Hayek. I end up getting Mariah Mills. That's what I get. I want a full course meal. I want a filet mignon, and all I got is potty meat. That's all I got with Aaron Rodgers at this point. Cleveland can't. I mean, look, Shedeur Sanders. I mean, look, he got busted for driving 101 miles per hour on a 60-mile-per-hour limit. Look, he's young. We've all made mistakes before, but again, he was drafted in the 5th round. So there's no guarantee that he's going to stay on the 53-man roster. So he's got to do everything he can to compete and work his ass off to keep that roster. I think he'll be okay. And with the Bengals, champ, look, it's Mike Brown, the owner. We know how cheap he is as an owner.
Very cheap.
So,
super cheap.
Yeah.
And like I said, that whole fiasco with not only his star defensive player, but the defensive player that you got to replace him, he's not even signed. It gets ridiculous after a while.
The only thing the Bengals have done right in the offseason was with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Because you mentioned before, if I'm Joe Burrow and I lose both of those targets, I retire. And then somebody else is going to have to pick me up. That's what you can endorsed or recommended.
I mean, and I wouldn't blame him if he did it now, because the thing is, with that T. Higgins contract, that's really a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
It's really a 1-year deal. So if they deem you if they want to be super cheap again next year and say we're going to cut you after this year, they can most certainly do that. That's how team friendly that contract is. That's why they kill me when they say team friendly. Okay, we want to be cheap. Let's go ahead and cut him so he can go somewhere else. But yeah, that's a team friendly deal. It's really not one of these mega monster deals that you're really, really thinking about. I know the number sounds real, real good, 100-something million, but it's really one of those deals where it's year to year. It's like, we're going to evaluate you after this year. We're going to evaluate you after this year. So that's what that is, if you really want me to be honest with you.
Can't blame you on that, man.